Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This post was collected by Lucy Aria Rose, and their tagline is, "I'm keeping the garlic." The original OP is Public Edge 6210, posted to r/Am I the Asshole, January 2nd, 2026. Am I the asshole for not wanting my in-laws to take over my baby and for refusing to move in with them? Me, 30 female, and my husband, 31 male, have been married for almost 3 years and have an 8-month-old baby boy. Ours was an arranged marriage, and I genuinely got lucky. My husband is kind, supportive, and very understanding. My husband is the eldest of 3 sons. His 2 younger brothers live abroad. Since my in-laws don't have a daughter, they treated me very well from the beginning, and overall, they are good people. This makes this situation harder for me. The issues started after my son was born. During the first few months postpartum, I stayed with my parents and then with my in-laws. At first, I ignored small things, assuming they were just excited grandparents. But over time, certain behaviors started bothering me. They would refer to themselves as father and mother when talking to my baby in our native language. When my baby cried or needed to sleep, my father-in-law would ask my mother-in-law to comfort him instead of letting me do it. Sometimes they wouldn't give my baby to me when he was crying or would take him from my arms, saying they would try to calm him. I felt invisible but stayed quiet, thinking it might just be postpartum hormones. After we moved to the city where my husband works, it got worse. We video call them daily. Whenever my baby cries, my father-in-law says things like, "Our baby is sad because he's missing us," or that the baby is all alone there, even though he's with his parents. He has joked that the baby might be bored of seeing only my husband's and my face. It often feels like they see my baby as their child and us as caretakers. They also constantly insist the baby looks only like their side of the family and dismisses any resemblance to me, even in obvious cases. My husband noticed this too and admitted it bothered him. He corrected his father once, but it didn't stop. Eventually, I started correcting my father-in-law every time he called himself dad, and he finally stopped. They visited us twice after we moved, and both visits were extremely stressful due to constant boundary crossing and comments about our parenting. Recently, the main conflict happened. We can't visit our hometown often because my husband gets only 4 days off a month. Now, my in-laws want us to quit our jobs and move permanently into their home so they can be close to the baby. I work from home, but only from our current location, not my hometown. More importantly, based on their current behavior, I don't feel comfortable living with them. My father-in-law frequently comments that we don't feed the baby on time, that the baby is unhappy, lonely, and has to play alone. I told my husband I'm not comfortable living with them because I feel they won't allow us to raise our son the way we choose. My husband agrees and plans to have a serious conversation with his father to set boundaries and clearly state that this is our child. However, my husband is also worried because his parents would be alone as his brothers live abroad. Apart from these issues, they've been good to me and I don't want to damage the relationship. Am I the asshole for refusing to move in with my in-laws and for wanting firm boundaries around my baby, even if it hurts their feelings? Edit, thank you so much to everyone who took the time to read my post and share your thoughts, advice, and support. I truly didn't expect this much response. I tried to reply to as many comments as I could, but I couldn't get to everyone. I'm a new mom and juggling a lot right now. My husband and I read all the comments together, and they really helped us reflect. More than anything, it made us realize that our priority has to be our little family's well-being. I genuinely appreciate every single comment and the kindness behind them. I'll update soon. Some of OP's comments. Usual Canary 7764 comments. Why should you quit your job? Their loneliness is not your burden to bear. If they want to be closer to their grandchildren, they can move closer. If they want more involvement, then they must follow your rules. None of the above requires you to move or quit your jobs. If you do that, or move in with them, you're suddenly fully at their mercy. Completely. Do not do that under any circumstance. Not the asshole. OP responds, yes, that's what I thought. I can't afford to leave my current job. My in-laws are saying they'll help set up some business for my husband in his field, and I can join him or search for a new job there. But in our current situation, that's not at all ideal. Can't take the risk now. Thanks for your reply. Inselas, potentially. Sounds like they're suffering from empty nest syndrome and have latched onto your baby for something to do. Do they work? Are they retired? Was mother-in-law a stay-at-home mom? Tell them to find a new hobby, as your baby is yours. Also, tell your husband to grow a spine. His parents, his problem. Doesn't need to be a discussion, just needs to say, Mom, Dad, back off, he's not your baby. Find a hobby if you're bored and have nothing to do. Opie responds, they're running their own business, not retired. I think you're right. They're suffering from an empty nest syndrome. Actually, once I express my discomfort, my mother-in-law's behavior has improved. But my father-in-law is the problem now. My husband had told him multiple times. I think we need to have more serious conversations now. On the husband, he's totally with me on this. He only said to me that we need to have this conversation immediately to set boundaries. We are unable to have a conversation with them only because they are always having guests at home, and we're unable to set up a call with them where we can talk freely. To another commenter, my husband is totally on board with my decision, just that in our culture, we stay with our parents, and even I also thought eventually we'll move back. But now we're concerned about their interference. OP clarifies her comment about the in-laws being good to her. Thank you for taking time to comment. Why I said they are good to me, because from the beginning, they were very supportive and treated me well during my pregnancy. I understand that it's not an excuse for their current behavior, and I totally get your point. OP on cultural expectations. Thank you for your comment. In our culture, we stay with our parents and take care of them. I even wanted to do that for both our parents. We thought of moving back after a few years and wanted to stay close to both of the families and have our own place there, but now we're not so sure. Like you said, from now on, I won't be quiet. I'll make sure they know how we're feeling and that they need to respect our boundaries. To another commenter, I agree that many harmful practices are justified in the name of culture, and that should absolutely be questioned. However, equating all cultural values with extreme practices like FGM or honor killings ignores important nuance. Wanting to care for aging parents doesn't automatically mean surrendering free will. The issue arises when expectations override consent, boundaries, and well-being. That's the part I'm reflecting on. Update, January 5th, 2026, 3 days later. I wanted to add an update after a recent visit from my father-in-law, as it reinforced many of the concerns I mentioned in my original post. Before their visit, I asked my husband to remind my father-in-law to wash his hands before holding our baby, as this has been an ongoing issue in the past. Despite being told, my father-in-law took our baby from my arms immediately upon arrival without washing his hands. My husband had to ask him multiple times before he finally did so. During the visit, there were repeated comments about our baby being happy now that everyone is here and otherwise being all alone when it's just me and my husband with him. There was also another instance of my father-in-law refusing to acknowledge any resemblance between our baby and me, even when others, including my husband, pointed out obvious features like my hair. This turned into an unnecessary argument over something very trivial, which again made me feel dismissed. Later in the evening, alcohol was being consumed in the living room. While I'm personally uncomfortable with my baby being around drinking, I chose not to escalate the situation in front of guests and instead kept my baby with me in the bedroom. At that point, my father-in-law made a comment framed as a joke about putting a few drops of alcohol in our 8-month-old baby's mouth so he could get a taste early, saying that everyone in the family drinks anyway. Both my husband and I immediately shut this down. My husband, who is a doctor, firmly told him that this was unsafe and unacceptable. My father-in-law dismissed it by saying nothing would happen, that it was costly whiskey, that he had been given alcohol as a child, and that it was supposedly good for gut health. Regardless of intent, this crossed a serious line for us. There were also a few other smaller boundary issues throughout the visit. We did not have a full conversation with my father-in-law at the time because my mother-in-law was not present and my father-in-law was visiting with his brothers and sons. We felt it was more appropriate to address these issues privately and together, rather than in front of extended family or while alcohol was involved. After they left, I told my husband that I am no longer comfortable with the idea of ever living in the same house as his parents. If we were to move closer in the future, it would have to be in a separate home. My husband agreed. This visit confirmed that my discomfort isn't about minor disagreements or hurt feelings, but about repeated boundary violations and concerns around our child's safety and our authority as parents. We are aligned and will be setting firmer boundaries going forward. Some of OP's comments. Sizzle de bizzle comments. My father-in-law took our baby from my arms immediately upon arriving without washing his hands. Why did you allow that? OP responds, that's a fair question, I will answer it honestly. It happened very quickly. He took the baby from my arms as soon as he arrived before I could react. I didn't allow it so much as I was caught off guard. As soon as my husband noticed, he immediately intervened and asked his father to wash his hands, which he eventually did after being told multiple times. This is actually part of the pattern I'm talking about, boundaries being crossed first, and us having to correct them after the fact. User WasteOf I'm a mother of a 6-month-old baby. I'm still confused. How can someone take the baby from your arms without you physically letting it happen? OP responds, it happened quickly and unexpectedly, and my husband corrected it immediately. I didn't want to physically pull my baby back or react in a way that would scare him in that moment. We've learned from it and are being firmer now. I don't feel the need to justify this further. Update 2, January 6th, 2026, next day, 4 days from the original post. We had a conversation with my in-laws and I wanted to share how it went. My mother-in-law spoke with us first over FaceTime. I explained how hurt we've been by certain behaviors and comments, especially from my father-in-law, and how they made us feel like our role as parents wasn't being respected. I also told her about the specific boundaries that had been crossed and why it affected us so deeply. To her credit, she listened, without interrupting, acknowledged our feelings, and apologized sincerely. She said clearly that we were the parents and that no one has the right to make us feel otherwise. She then asked my father-in-law to join the call and repeated everything to him. He apologized as well and said he never intended to hurt us. Both of them said they would not repeat the behaviors we brought up. We also addressed the larger issues of living arrangements and our future plans. We told him that we will not be moving in with them and that we intend to continue building our life where we are now, as it is best for both our careers and our personal life. We made it clear that if they ever need our help, we will be there for them. At the same time, we set boundaries around our child. They're welcome to visit us and spend time with our baby as long as our role as parents is respected, and visits will be in our presence. We will also continue visiting them during the holidays. They accepted this and reiterated that they would respect our decisions going forward. My husband and I are aligned, and while we know that maintaining boundaries is an ongoing process, this conversation felt like an important step in the right direction. Thank you to everyone who offered advice and perspective. It genuinely helped us approach this in a calm and constructive way. Also, I want to thank everyone who took the time to comment on both my original post and the update. I truly appreciate the advice, perspectives, and support shared here. I've read every comment, even if I wasn't able to reply to all of them. Between work, caring for my baby, and everything else going on, I just didn't have the time to respond individually. Please know that your words meant a lot to me and helped us reflect and move forward more thoughtfully. Some of OP's comments. Icy Door 7866. That was a way too quick and easy agreement by the in-laws. I would be so skeptical that they were only parroting what you wanted to hear and still intend on going behind your backs and treating the baby the way they prefer. OP and hubby, keep a large grain of skepticism in your minds when dealing with father-in-law and mother-in-law in any future situations. OP responds, that's completely fair, and honestly, it's something we've thought about too. We're relieved about how the conversation went, but we're also staying mindful and paying attention to actions, not just words. Boundaries will be set in place going forward. User Chris and Bliss comments, I'm curious why they suddenly had a change of heart after being so intense. I feel like something happened that you don't know about. Like, did their other sons tell them off? Their other family members? Your own mom and dad? OP responds, I did wonder about that too, but as far as we know, no one else spoke to him. I think hearing directly how much it was affecting us made a difference. Time will tell. Though, we are focusing on behavior, not just words. User Library Mouse 4321 comments, they're telling you what you want to hear to put you into a false sense of security. Be on your guard at all times and never trust these people. OP responds, thank you for your concern. We are aware that trust is built over time, which is why we're focusing on clear boundaries and consistency rather than assumptions. User Lady Gaitha comments, I mean no offense by this, but the tone of this versus your other posts is very clinical/legal. I suppose what I mean is that your initial posts had a feeling of emotion. And this one just doesn't. While the message is meant to be positive, the tone isn't. I guess that's what I'm asking. Are you okay? OP responds, "Thank you for asking so gently. I'm okay, just mentally tired, honestly. The earlier posts were written when everything felt raw, and this update came after a long, heavy conversation where I had to be calm and clear. I think that's why the tone sounds different. I do feel relieved, even if it doesn't come through strongly in the writing." Despite how messy the in-laws are, and with the father-in-law wanting to give alcohol to a newborn, which is a massive red flag in my book, it always makes me happy to see a post where the husband and wife are on the same page and it's not the wife desperately trying to deal with a one-sided 1v3 battle where it's the husband and in-laws versus her because the husband doesn't want to even dare speak up against his parents. So it's nice to have the exact opposite of that every now and then. I do wish OP the best of luck. Sounds like this is an extremely exhausting family dynamic, and hopefully with time, they're able to firmly establish boundaries that are respected, and getting the in-laws to understand that their visitation with their child is conditional, not guaranteed. Just because it's an arranged marriage doesn't mean they're arranged to be the parents of the child they produce. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, "Of course, Satan is not a pogo stick." The original OP is Bride Hair Throwaway, posted to r/relationships, May 31st, 2016. Direct Caterpillar adds a note. Editor's note, while there are slight similarities to the Merida Hair Best of Redditor updates, these posts predate those posts by 4 years. Crazy coincidence. I, 22 female, have been told by my friend, 25 female, that I'll need to dye my hair to be in her bridal party. So I've known my friend, who I'll refer to as Ella, since I was a child, as she's the daughter of family friends, but we've only become close in the past 2 or 3 years. She recently became engaged, and I readily accepted her offer to be part of her bridal party. Yesterday morning, I received an email from Ella. It seemed pretty standard, but then when she got into the look she wants for her bridesmaids, she wrote, "Hey, bride hair throwaway, you'll need to dye your hair for the day. I'll take you to my hairdresser and cover the cost. Smiley face." This had never happened to me. I'm a natural ginger, so it's not like I have an outrageous hair color, although Ella and her other bridesmaids are brunettes. I texted Ella about it. She told me my hair would clash with the wedding colors and that brides get a veto over pretty much every aspect of her bridesmaids' appearances. I just know that the entire bridal party is white. She also mentioned my hair is quite attention-grabbing and it'd take away from the cohesiveness of the group. I told her I wasn't comfortable dyeing my hair. She said she'd get back to me, but hoped I'd reconsider. Am I being reasonable here? I've never been involved in a wedding before, so I'm not quite sure what's expected of me. I've gotten some messages from the other bridesmaids who are telling me I should just do it. Relevant comments. Commenter. She's being ridiculous. Tell her you'd love to be a bridesmaid, but you won't dye her hair. And if she insists on the hair, you should decline to be a bridesmaid. OP responds, "Thank you for confirming I'm not crazy. I was considering offering to wear a wig, but I even think that's kind of weird. She was just so casual about it. She made it seem like a normal occurrence." Use your Philo Ren comments. Absolutely do not offer to wear a wig. The only thing a bride should have a say in is the style, up or down. Otherwise, she can find a new bridesmaid. Please don't give in. Use your Dr. Gay Love comments. Maybe what you're wearing, but not your actual appearance. This is some serious bridezilla nonsense. Tell her that you'd have to live with this change for long after her wedding day is over, and you're not willing to do it. She'll stand out anyway. She'll be wearing a wedding dress. User Suki comments, "You are not being unreasonable at all. I'm planning my wedding now, and I'd never ask my bridesmaids to dye their hair. This is bridezilla level shit. Like, she's scared of being upstaged by her maids, so she's making crazy demands. She's being ridiculous. Tell her you'd love to be a bridesmaid, but you won't dye your hair, and if she insists on the hair, you should decline to be a bridesmaid." User Sassy Sabotus comments, "This is not the last absurd and entitled demand she will make of you. Save yourself from trouble. Back out now." Bickets comments, "She knows you're an actual person, right? Like not a scarf or purse or some other accessory whose entire purpose is to make her look better. I really think you should back out of this wedding as politely as you can now. That level of bridezilla is only going to get worse. Crowan Bergdani. Hairstylist here. At first I thought maybe she was trying to tell you that she would pay for you to get highlights or something like that, but if you're a natural redhead and you go darker or lighter and decide you don't like it, you will have to put in a lot of time and money to get to something resembling your natural color. I don't know who your friend thinks she is, but no, she doesn't get to just decide something like that. OP responds, I didn't even really consider long-term effects of dye. I'll definitely bring that up next time we speak. Update, June 6th, 2016, 1 week later. Long story short, I am not going to be involved in Ella's wedding in any way. I didn't hear anything from Ella regarding the hair dyeing, so I spoke to my parents, who in turn spoke to Ella's parents, all in their 50s, who then must have spoke to Ella's older brother, 27 male, who I will call Charles, who I've also grown close to over the past few years. A little bit of background. Ella has been with her fiancé Pete, 27-ish, since she was 15. He was, and I assume still is, a friend of Charles, which is how Ella and Pete met. Charles called me and informed me that Pete has a redhead fetish. It's something they always joked about in their teens, although that joking stopped when Pete began dating his younger sister. Ella actually dyed her hair red, something I sort of remember, for several years in her teens, but it basically became too damaged and costly to continue doing it, and she returned to her natural hair color. Charles would bet this is why she's requesting I dye my hair. This all kind of made sense. I've met Pete a couple times, and Ella always seemed to be in a rush to leave the conversation and move on. He also stared. A lot. Why was I even asked to be a bridesmaid? Her parents strongly encouraged it and are footing the entire bill. I'm a generally fairly quiet and accommodating person, so I guess she figured I'd just go with it. I emailed Ella to tell her I'm no longer able to be a bridesmaid. I haven't heard anything back, although I know she's seen the message. I will probably not be going to the wedding at all. The whole situation is just too weird and uncomfortable. I'm assuming there's no coming back from this. Quick little eyes insert before I get to the comments. If your fiancé is physically incapable of controlling himself around redheads to the point where you would rather try to force someone to dye their hair, maybe you shouldn't be dating them. You're not going to be able to control every redhead in your presence when they're around Pete. Like, if he is that uncontrollable around redheads, and you think he might be unfaithful around redheads just by them being in his presence, then what are you doing? That's a big fucking yikes right there. So it's either he is an uncontrollable hound dog around redheads, or you are insanely insecure. Anyways, final comments. Girl Friday fail comments. I think you did the right thing. It seems weird, but I can understand where Ella is coming from. My boyfriend has always dated blondes before me, so being Asian, I do sometimes feel the same insecurity. While it was an odd request, I do think she meant well. Even normal people can do silly things. I wouldn't worry too much about it being an uncomfortable situation, and I actually think you should go to the wedding. Don't make a silly situation weirder than it has to be. Just go, have a good time, and make sure the bride knows how excited and happy you are for her. OP responds, I think my instant reaction to stay out is due to my own experiences with ginger fetishists. They can be weird. And Ella not speaking to me. I'll definitely reconsider things if/when she responds, depending on how that goes. Elegant Jihad comments, this seems like a really odd response. I mean, he's an adult, right? Not a robot, incapable of controlling his inner programming. A functioning adult that will most likely interact with redheads, possibly even, gasp, working with them. If you're uncomfortable being in the wedding, I understand your hesitancy to be involved in it. But the pushback from your friend is completely batshit crazy. I cannot believe this marriage will last if any female of the 2 to 6% of people in Western civilization with red hair will set his loins into overdrive irrevocably. User Wolfie305. As a redhead and an upcoming bride in 2017, I'm glad you noped the fuck out. I think this whole thread is forgetting what's really wrong about this whole thing. A bride asked you, her bridesmaid, to change your damn natural hair color. This could have damaging effects to your hair. Not to mention, you have to live with it for however long afterward. Fetish stuff aside, whether it's true or not, the bride was way out of line. As a redhead, I would have removed myself immediately at the first request out of offense. I think the bride is just jealous of your gorgeous hair color, OP. OP, high fives. So because we do end up covering the worst of the worst when it comes to wedding experiences on this channel just kind of by default, because the ones that are drama-filled end up rising to the top and getting the most attention, but what is it with weddings treating their guests more as accessories or showpieces than anything else? Like, it seems that some of these weddings that are just really off the rails like this one here, they treat people more like props and items and not really like actual people. It's the entitlement and incredibly short-sightedness of being like, oh, don't worry, I'll pay for you to dye your hair. Okay, well, are you going to pay for the amount of time it's going to take to dye it back to its original colors? Are you going to pay for the time that it's going to take to potentially make sure the hair's not damaged? Are you going to pay for any of the good dyes that won't damage hair out of the box? Because my guess is, you probably didn't even consider that, did you? And depending on the length of the hair, that could be 2 to 3 years of dealing with a brunette hair color that's not your natural hair color because you had to go to a wedding. Which now also means you're dealing with the awkward conversations of anyone you met in those 3 years between where you were forced to dye your hair and when your natural hair color begins to come out. People are just gonna think that newly met you at that time, oh, they're dyeing their hair red. How quirky. And that's only if OP went along with the short-sighted request of dyeing their hair color, their natural hair color. Well, actually, wait a minute, I'm not even comfortable with them requesting to dye like a non-natural hair color either. That is an interesting question though. Let's say like one of your bridesmaids, and this would be a question for the females out there. Let's say one of your bridesmaids had like blue or purple hair or a non-traditional color. Would you want them to dye it to a traditional color and then pay for it to be dyed back? How would you handle going about that? Because for me personally, I always saw wedding and wedding photos as a like snapshot of this is who you keep as people around you. Like these are your friends. It's a snapshot of time of where people were in their lives when you were getting married. Although, now that I say that out loud, I can see how some vain people might actually want to alter the appearance of their past to make it purposely seem as though they were more put together than things actually are. And I can only assume that tabloid culture and social media definitely has not helped with this at all. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, of course, Satan is not a pogo stick. The original OP is null document posted to r/TrueOffMyChest January 5th, 2026. My best friend pretended to be my friend for years just to sleep with me. We met in college while living in the same shared house. The rent was cheap and everyone was broke, so about 15 men and women lived there. It was honestly a hellscape. The house was dirty and poorly maintained, but the people were nice, and I made some really good friends there. One of them was Mike. I didn't feel a romantic connection, so I wasn't interested in him that way. Still, since we lived together and attend the same college, we spent a lot of time together, grew close, and eventually became best friends. Over the next 5 years, we both dated other people, and were always comfortable talking openly about our relationships. Mike never behaved inappropriately towards me and never crossed boundaries with his girlfriends. He was loyal, respectful, and a genuinely good person. That said, there were 2 moments when he showed romantic interest. When we first met, he flirted with me once, but I didn't reciprocate. Later, after I ended a 2-year relationship, about 4 years into our friendship, he flirted with me once again. This time, I turned him down more firmly. I wasn't unkind, but I wanted to be very clear so there would be no false hope or confusion. That 2-year relationship breakup was difficult, and I needed a lot of therapy afterward. Honestly, that was the main reason I turned Mike down. I had just come out of a bad relationship and I didn't want to jump into another one. That wouldn't be smart or healthy. That was over 1 year ago. I've been single for quite some time now and haven't been casually dating either. I used this time to heal and grow. Which brings me to this past week. Mike and I have been talking every day, without fail, for over a year. We talk only through messages and calls since we now live very far apart. He decided to come visit me. I was really happy about it. I offered for him to stay at my place to save money. I live alone and have space, so I prepared a spare bed for him before he arrived. When he got here, it wasn't awkward at all. We've known each other for 5 years and have been best friends for most of that time. But as New Year's Eve approached, he asked if he could kiss me. This time, I felt like I was in a place in my life where I could trust again. I'd known Mike for years, and I believed he wouldn't hurt me. So I said yes, and we kissed. We're older and more mature now, so the kiss naturally evolved into something more intimate. During the rest of the visit, we shared a very personal and intimate experience. We slept in the same bed, took showers together, watched movies cuddling, and even went to the movies holding each other the entire time. It all felt natural, personal, and cozy. Then his visit ended, and he went back home. I wasn't expecting a full-blown relationship or even a friends with benefits situation. I simply expected us to talk about what had happened and figure out what it meant or where we should go from there. But now he doesn't reply to my messages anymore. We used to talk every day for hours, and now there's only silence. Relevant comments. TKSWDR. Why didn't you bring this up directly the next day? Lofi responds. He was on the road the next day, so I wanted to give him space, but then he started ignoring me afterward as well. User no biggity comments. Yeah, I wouldn't take it personal. Sounds like about the average experience with straight male friends. Not saying that to be rude, but my non-straight male friends just wouldn't, and would protect our friendship. Sex ruins friendships. Straight males, on the other hand, you have to know better. Maybe he's sorting things out mentally, or maybe he got what he wanted like you suspect. I'm truly sorry. Opie responds. Yeah, I thought I knew him after 5 years. I thought we would be the exception to the rule and sex wouldn't ruin our friendship. Update, January 6th, 2026. A lot of people asked for an update, and I didn't think there would be one for a few more days, but here it is, the final outcome. Mike messaged me. He sent a text, like usual, completely ignoring the ghosting and everything that had happened between us. I replied normally, and we talked a bit, about nothing in particular. I was at work at the time, so I waited until I got home to ask him directly what was going on. When I got home, I sent him a message saying I felt like he had been avoiding me. He replied that he wasn't avoiding me, that he was just busy playing games and forgot to talk to me. He also said he didn't think the vibe between us was weird or different. I then asked him what our week together had meant to him. He said it was just a couple of friends having fun, and nothing more. He doesn't want anything romantic with me. So yeah, this isn't the happiest update, but it's definitely the most realistic one. Thank you to everyone who left comments on my previous post. He wasn't cheating with me like many of you suggested, and he wasn't confused and sorting out his feelings either. We're still friends, and I meant what I said before. I'm just glad he didn't disappear completely. He's still my friend, and I respect his decision. I can't put the link to the original post here. Ask in the comments if you're confused. Final comments. Noenve comments. I have no idea if that's actually how it's pronounced. Why would you continue being friends with him after he manipulated you, got what he wanted, and then gaslit you? I'm so confused. OP responds, this might sound dumb, but I'm really grateful for the responses I received. When I wrote the update, I was so blinded by the rejection that I didn't see how bad the situation actually was. Reading the comments helped me snap out of it and realize, hey, that was actually really shitty. User Creative Death 00 comments, nah, I'd ghost him. He's not a real friend at all. Real friends have boundaries in place. He wanted to get his dick wet, and now he's successfully done that. I can predict the future. He'll give her breadcrumbs, give her bare minimum contact to satisfy her, and when he's horny again, uses OP, then repeat, recycle, till OP wakes up to herself and realizes her value is much more than what he's giving her. OP responds, oh no, we are never sleeping together again. I did feel a spark, but it'll pass. I won't let myself be treated as disposable, and if he wanted something romantic, this was his chance. YOP is certain it's over, courtesy of Soft On Pages. Thank you for the message, but it's time the people on this post accepts he has no romantic feelings. I didn't put the whole conversation, but it was bad. Not that he owes me anything, but he made it very clear we meant nothing. User KMW onto 6 comments, looking for the second update after you drop his ass. OP responds, I don't plan on posting another update, there's nothing more to update. If this is about closure, just know that I won't beg or humiliate myself, and I won't beg for friendship either. We're not talking like we used to, so I'm sure the friendship will simply fade out. KMW onto 6 responds further, you deserve better, OP. I hope you know that, and he regrets his loss. So I might be totally in the wrong on this one here, but the timeline seems to have moved really fucking fast. This was posted January 5th, 2026. They shared a kiss on New Year's. There was enough time for them to share showers, share the bed, cuddle and watch movies, go out to watch a movie together. So how many days would that have been since New Year's to the time that he potentially left? We also know that he lives a decent ways away, and even if he's flying, that's still probably an entire day of travel. If he's driving, that's 2 days of travel. So I could potentially understand why there are gaps in text messages there. I do think Mike should have sent a courtesy text of like, hey, my flight landed, or hey, this is where I'm at driving right now, or hey, I just made it home, now I need to decompress for a little bit. Because, yeah, dude, that sucks that after you two had sex for the first time after being friends for 5 years, you didn't respond or let her know what was going on. But I also feel like the timeline just accelerated to hell and back, and I'm kind of just left with the opinion that this is really, really messy. I don't think anyone's like necessarily the villain in this story. There's definitely some fault spread around. But I don't think I can agree with the idea that Mike was solely in the friendship for 5 years to sleep with her for one time and then ghost her. Especially when he's had other relationships in the process of all of this. I'd be very curious to hear some of your inputs in the comments because I don't know. It's posts like this that make me fearful that I'm going to be accused of being a misogynist or a fake ally to women again. That was fun. Don't forget, this is brought to you by GamerSupps. Use code ODDS at checkout. It's basically a caffeine powder that you put in your water, and I actually really like it. I use this on a daily basis. Don't forget that every purchase you make using code ODDS directly supports the channel. And if you want a personal recommendation from me, I would either recommend the Soda Pressing Pear or Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are currently my favorite flavors. And as a note, once we sell a certain amount of stuff, I get my own flavor and my own cup, and you all know I'm gonna choose some degenerate shit that's gonna make their PR team squirm. My goal is to make them regret partnering with me. So please, use code ODDS at checkout to make my dream come true of making a PR team squirm.